Now then, guys, sorry that just cut out. My phone decided to die, so I went back in the house, got the charger, and had it on charge for a bit. Whilst you've been away, literally about 15 minutes ago, I fired this side up, and I also went inside and brought my axles in. Now these shoulders there and there are set so that the wheel will sit just there, and that's just the right gauge for 5-inch gauge. The shafts are bigger than what the bore diameter is in there, so that what I'll do is I'll either warm the wheel up, sit this on a vise, and gently pop that onto there up to the shoulder, and that'll be a nice interference fit, because when it's cooled down it ain't coming off. That's what I wanted. I have it nice and tight, then it can't move. And what I might also do is I might sneak these into the freezer in the house, leave these in the freezer, and when I want to fit them, I'll get these out of the freezer, and I'll warm the wheel up, have a nice pair of gloves on when I do it, because I don't want to touch this when it's fairly warm. And hopefully the idea is that will slot nicely on there. And then what I'll do is, whenever I work at, this is 1/2 inch, the actual shaft size is 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch rolled. It's enough to do what I need it to. Now if I decide to go electric, it'll be a lot easier doing electric really, because I've already got the pulley that I want to put on here, and it's been bored out to 1/2 inch. I actually reamed it 1/2 inch, so it's slightly bigger. But yeah, that's the idea. I can put it on loose, put the other wheel on, and then once that's done, that they're both on, and I ain't got to mess about with sprockets and things like that. But having said that, I might do petrol. It's something I've had in the back of my mind for quite a long time. So that's what I might do. I'll have to mull it over. It's one of them things you think about when you're in bed, and you're thinking, oh, I could just do that. But yeah, I'll do some more investigation into it, and but the main one is get these wheels pressed on with whatever I want to put on here. Oh, a bit of itchy nose. Get the axle boxes made up, put on, and on the bottom, you see it there, on the bottom of there, I'm going to put like a keeper, just a thin bar of steel that will stop the axle boxes coming out, because once the axle box is made, and I put the piece of steel across there with 2 bolts in it, the idea is that I'm going to have a spring up here with a piece of angle the other side of this, and that will give it some suspension. That's the whole idea of putting axle boxes in and having sprung, so that when you're going over joints in the track, the loco can, this is really exaggerated, but it can spring, so it's not going to send a shock all the way through the loco. And the riding cars, I'm pretty sure they've got suspension on them as well. Really, it's just to cushion when you're going over gaps in the track. The gaps are minute. I'd say about 1/2 mil to 1 millimeter. So nothing major, but it just gives a smoother ride. If you don't have suspension and you go over these gaps, boom, boom, and over time that will wear the axle boxes even more. The axle box types are only plain bearing steel in brass, with I'm going to have the centre hole for the axle. It's going to be recessed in the centre either side, so that the axles, I'll show you one here, so that the axles just ride up and down. Piece across there to hold them in. Let's flip you over, and about here somewhere I'm going to put a piece of angle with a piece of steel going through into the axle box. I'll probably thread something with a little pin popping up so the spring's compressed, not fully, but just a little bit of nip on it so that it can ride up and down. Yeah, that's the whole idea of it. And once I've got all that done, I've got it sprung. I have got down here the front plates. I'll just show you these. These are the front plates. Now, that's better. You can see where it previously was. This is where they were bolted on to give the width, and the wheels are about here somewhere. But I want to make this into a narrow gauge thing, so the frames are going to be a little bit wider and the wheels are going to be inside the frames to make it look like it's narrow gauge, because a lot of narrow gauge locos had wheels inside the frames. Not all of them, a few of them I've got them on the outside, but I quite like the look of having the wheels on the inside. And what I'm thinking of doing is, because these shafts, I've made these shafts longer on purpose, the wheel's going to sit about there. You see that? The wheel's going to sit about there and be tight up to that shoulder. Then the frame's going to come to here. And you're probably thinking, well, why have that stuck out? Well, what I'd like to do is make a boss and have a connecting rod, so that there's a connecting rod either side and a crank, and that can power it round. I think that would look rather nice. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do with it. I think all in planning stage at the moment, until I figure something out, whether I go electric or I go petrol. I'm pretty old school, so I quite like petrol. A few of the members at our club, they're not keen on petrol. You mention petrol to them, and they automatically think that you're going to put a motor in it and have the petrol engine driving a motor, sort of a hybrid type of thing. But my point of view is, why put a petrol engine in there just to connect it to a motor to gear drive? Why not go the whole hog, make it mechanical, petrol engine in, clutch, a gear just the other side of the clutch, down to another shaft and gear, chain, and then I've got to think about somewhere gearing it, because depending on how I mount the engine, on the video I saw on YouTube, the engine's sat that way, the back of the cab's here, and the output shaft goes out to a little clutch. It's literally only about that far off the end of the engine. I know this is a wheel, but you got your clutch there, and you got a gear, and you got a chain and gear and a sprocket here, and it goes down into like a little gearbox. I think the gearbox is from a ride-on lawnmower. Now, I don't know how many of them are laying around in scrapyards, because old George has had this ride-on lawnmower sat in his shed for 10 years or so, and doesn't work anymore. It's like, right, I'll get rid of it. Now, there's probably parts on that are quite good. So that's what I'm thinking of pilfering. Go to a scrapyard, say, I don't suppose you got an old ride-on lawnmower, I want a gearbox out of it. Because they're not massive. The one I saw on this video, it's only about that by that, be about that. and this is the challenging part now. Yeah, I can go easy. I can just do it with electric, mount the motors in, similar to how I did this first one. Mount the motors in that way and make it electric. So I've got the 2 batteries for that, and for my big loco down here. I'm fine for batteries because I make it 24-volt parallel, because the motors can take 24. But it would mean spending, I think, about £55–56 on two new motors, because obviously the motors in that were supposed to go in this, but I ended up buying that and then chucking everything together, and before you know it, I've got a loco that I wasn't going to build. But such is life. So yeah, have a good think and see what I can come up with. I may go to locate and get a couple of bits of steel just cut out for that, because obviously you can see there's loads of holes in that. I don't see the point in wasting my time and just filling all these holes up with weld. I ain't got a welder, so that'll be another job that I'd have to take into work, but I don't want to take it into work. I want to do as much as I can myself. So go to locate, take that with me, basically say I'd like 2 bits of plate like that. I think it's 3mm plate. Just get them to cut them out, water jet cut, nice brand new bit of plate, job finish your aunt, Bob's your uncle, done. And all I've got to do is, once I've got the axle boxes all in here, get the wheels on, get the axle boxes on the wheels. I'm going to put a washer just on the outside of there, so that it's not tight up against the axle box. Then I can get the distance of the frames. Then put a tape measure across it, or well, no, I should use a rule really. Put a rule across it. Then I can get the measurements of both ends of the frame, make it nice and square. I'm hoping that these are actually all done now. Where's back? There. I shall just... Oh, you can see it, yeah. I've put that on top of there. I have got some bolts here. I'm just going to put a couple of bolts through, nip them up, and then that'll be it nicely rigid. And line them up. I'm going to put all new bolts on this. Come on, there we go. Bolt them together, get them all nicely lined up. And the same with this side. And get this in here with a vice there. But that's you can see that bolt in there. That's the general idea. I can take it out of here now actually. Get these all lined up. There's a nut. Get these on here. So I'll just do a little bit of alignment, but there you are. You can see that. Now they don't look too bad, quite far away, but I'll go close up. You can see that they're not quite in line. But I can just do a bit of moving about, tap it with a little copper hammer or something, and get them lined up where I want them. Nip them up. And get the guys at the engineering company just to literally just shave some material off until they all line up, and then take these apart, and I'll get them to measure the thickness of one plate and one horn, and say to them basically I'd like my horn blocks milled in so that they nicely slot up and down. I'm yet to determine how thick, how tall I want the horn blocks. Not horn blocks, the axle boxes. Because that's going to go in the axle box like that and ride up and down. Not as much as that, I hope. Literally, it'll be 1/2 mil maximum that it's going to move, depending on how tight I do the suspension. But yeah, that's that. All clamped up so that they can just come in that side, touch on there, and basically just make them the same. They don't have to be super accurate, but I want to clamp them together so that they'll be in line. And then when I come to put it all together, the axle boxes will be nicely in line with each other. It doesn't really matter if one of these is slightly bigger than the other, providing that I've still got a nice bit of chunk of brass just there. I'll go get a bit of material from the axle boxes. It's just over here. I just hold that up close to the camera. You can see that that'll nicely just go on there. It's fairly thick, but that doesn't really matter because I'd like them fairly beefy. Saying that, I could actually mill a bit off there, but I don't think I will. I think I'll keep it as is, because you want as much weight on this as you can. The petrol engine will give a bit of weight. The idea you want weight in it is because you want the traction on the wheels. If it's light, it'll not pull a fat git like me. I'm hoping that it will pull at least me, my daughter and my wife. I can take it up to the club one day and give them a ride. The club does give rides to the public, but I'm not really a public driver. I'm allowed to do it. I can pull passengers if I want to, but having a family, I've talked about the time. Mrs. doesn't really understand trains that much. She's not a fan, and she knows that I come out here and bugger about in here, like, but if I can build this at home, and I've not paid the likes of MaxiTrack to build one for me, which is going to cost about 2 to 3 grand for them to build you a loco. I've got the satisfaction of knowing that I've built this myself. All I've done is basically buy a chassis from MaxiTrack. Actually, that's who I bought it from. But 25 quid. I'd say I've spent about, so far with the steel that I bought, about 30 quid so far. Another piece of plate for the top when I eventually get it all like a rolling chassis to mount things in. Yeah, I don't want to spend more than 200 quid, ideally. And obviously I've got to build a body for it yet and all that, but it's gonna be built, shall we say, sort of naked. No, not me. No, you don't want to see that. That's scary. The loco is going to be sort of naked without a body, just while I get all the motors in. If I go for motors, batteries, obviously 2 of them will give plenty of weight. If I go petrol, then I might have to put some substantial bits of steel in there just to weight it down. Hopefully speak to the wife and see if she don't mind me getting a price to have this work done. Yeah, that's what I'm at. So that's the point I'm at. So yeah, I'll get a bit more done and hopefully get these all nicely cleaned up. The job's a good one. Yeah. Right, I guess the next stage will be when I've got to do a drawing for it, because when you go, if you were going to an engineering company and you wanted this doing, if you're not clued up on drawings and engineering drawings, I am, because I've got to do it for a living. I can sort of prepare something so they've got an idea of what it is I want. Because if you just take something in, oh, is the bar I want it put in there? Well, yeah, they can put it in there, but it might not be where you exactly want it. I'm going to do a drawing for them and explain exactly what I want, what I'd like them to do, and then yeah, get it done right. Get it back here. Everything else I can do myself at home, really. So yeah, it's turning out to be like a nice little project that I can come in, do a bit, leave it, go off, have a think, do a bit of research on the internet, try and buy a petrol lawnmower. Yeah, that might look down well, that one. Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed that little vid. I know it's erratic and all over the place, but that's just how I am. Yeah. So thanks for watching, guys. Please give me a subscribe if you've just found this video. I've put a couple of videos on here about this loco that I'm building. Just stick that in there. There's a couple of videos on YouTube of me messing about in here and sharing what I'm doing and what I build and what I like to do in my spare time. So if you like this sort of thing, you enjoy seeing an idiot in a flat cap bugger about with model trains, then give me a subscribe please and a like, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks guys, bye bye.